Hey guys, we're at the 2-minute warning. Let's see, 2-minute warning, guys. We are at the 2-minute warning. So we'll get started here in just a couple minutes. Hopefully you have Zoom up on your computer and your cell phone out because we're going to walk through the consumer app together as a team. So grab some coffee, cold beverage, a snack, a little late lunch, whatever it is. We'll get started here in a minute or two. See you soon. All right, guys. Well, welcome in. So Q2, what a difference a few months has made. I definitely enjoyed getting to meet you guys and see you when I came down last quarter. Wish I could be there right now, but we're pivoting and obviously doing things a little bit differently. So for those of you that have not met, haven't had the chance to meet me, my name is Marty Miller. I am a regional technology trainer for the South Texas region, which includes Houston, Austin, San Antonio, all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley. So 29 market centers we're working with. I've been with Keller Williams for over 6 years now. Started off as an independent agent, went about 4 months, became a buyer's agent on a large team, worked my way up to the ability to start taking listings as a listing agent, and then got to open our first expansion office as the VP of expansion. Came back to the home team and got to be the VP of sales and ultimately the president of that large team, where I served for about 4.5 years. So we were a top 15 team in Houston during that time. Done a lot of things on the production side. Had the opportunity to follow kind of a passion I have for coaching and training to become a productivity coach. Did that for about 14 months. And then as of the first of the year, took this amazing opportunity to work with all of you as your regional technology trainer. So that's a little bit about me. Today we're going to be talking about the KW consumer app. First thing is a little bit of housekeeping. You may see that this looks a little bit different than some of the webinars that you've been on, as the Zoom calls you've been on. Those have been Zoom meetings. This is a Zoom webinar. For me, I felt like it was a kind of a little bit of an easier way for you guys to participate without having to be worried about the kids fighting, the dogs barking, what's happening in the background, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, your cameras are all turned off. We can't see each other. You can see me. I can't see you, and you can't see one another. So you're also muted by nature. So if you do have any sort of things that you want to talk about live, if you'll just look down right here, there should be a little toolbar somewhere in this area, and you can raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, I'll see that in the participants window, and I can unmute you. We can have a conversation that way. Down here, you should also have a button that says chat. You can click on the chat button there and put any answers or comments that you have in chat as well. So either raise your hand if you want to talk, or just put it in the chat. We can talk about it there. This is being recorded, so for those of you that may need to jump off early, or you have friends or coworkers that wanted to be on but couldn't make it, I will be sending this link to your leadership teams so they can then send it out to all of you as well. So look for that later on today, maybe tomorrow. So let's dive in. What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about the KW Consumer app. KW Consumer app. What kind of app is it, guys? Throw it in the chat. What kind of app are we talking about today? One, make sure you guys are paying attention. Two, make sure you know how to use the chat. So click on chat and then type it in. And there are no wrong answers. There is one right answer. What are we talking about today? There it is. Now it's starting to come in. Good job, Richard. Good job, Joyce. This is the KW consumer app. So I wanted to clear that up right off the bat. This is an app that your consumers are going to be using. Can you use this app? Well, are you a consumer? Yeah, absolutely you are. So 100% you can be using this app. Your first piece of homework actually is, if you have not downloaded it yet, go download this app so that you have it available on your phones, so that you can do what we're about to teach you how to do. What I'm going to do today is spend the kind of first 2/3 of the class talking to you about the app itself, how the consumer can use it, some of its kind of unique features and selling points. We know that a lot of your consumers are probably already using some sort of real estate app. We want to get them off of that app onto your consumer app from Keller Williams. And we want to have some talking points to discuss why our app is a better choice for them. So we're going to spend the first 2/3 kind of working through that. And then we'll spend the last third talking about how you as an agent can use Command and the consumer app and how those two kind of correlate. So for right now, I want you to kind of take off your agent hat, put on your consumer hat, and we're going to walk through it as a consumer. So the first thing that you would need to do, and we're going to switch real quick here. Let me stop this share, and I'm going to dive into my phone share so I can show you guys that. And when you go to download the consumer app, you're going to go to your app store and you're looking for KW Realty. It's going to be a white button with red lettering, and it's going to look like this. So top left-hand corner there, you can see that's what the KW app looks like. You click on that app, you can dive in, and you're going to see, yesterday I was searching in the Corpus area, so that's where it brings me back to. Obviously, I taught a class for Coastal Bend, Keller Williams Corpus yesterday. But when you, as a consumer, or your consumers go to download the app, first thing we want to make sure they realize is they have to create an account. And so do you, because Keller Williams doesn't recognize you as an agent. Keller Williams recognizes you as a consumer who's looking to use their app. So you will have to create your own account just as the consumer would. It's not going to recognize your Keller Williams email, your Keller Williams Command username. It's not going to recognize any of your passwords. So you'll have to create a brand new account if you have not done so already. When you do that, just as if the consumer were to go straight to the App Store and download the app, they are downloading what's known as a non-branded version of the app. The difference is you'll know you have a branded version of the app when you can see an agent's name. When you click on the bottom right-hand corner, that button that says More, it's got the little silhouette of a person. You can click on More and you'll get this screen. You can see right now my app, consumer-wise, is branded to me as the agent. If for any reason you haven't branded your app or your consumer hasn't, then it's going to look like this. And they're going to have that button at the very top that says Find a Keller Williams Agent. So if you're just now downloading it, you want to tie the app to yourself. If the consumer is going straight to the App Store, not following a link or an email that you sent them or a text, but going straight to the App Store, then they're going to get this non-branded version as well. So let's click on Find an Agent. And let's just say I don't have an agent yet, but I'm looking to move to the Harlingen area and I need an agent in that area. So I'm going to type in Harlingen, Texas. And just a second, it's going to load, and then I can search for agents in that city. Now, here's the deal, guys. I don't know any of you that well, and looking at this list, I don't believe I recognize any of the names on this list. So that being said, despite what you think of these agents, because they're all amazing agents, and yet if you are a consumer, which one of these 6 agents would you most likely be interested in doing business with? Of the 6 that are on the screen, who would you most likely choose, or at least read about first, of the 6 that are on the screen? You can throw it in chat. You can raise your hand if you want to talk about it. Marcos, yes. Richard, correct. You're getting my train of thought here, right? So in this case, I would probably say, hey, Araceli is probably the first person that I would look to do business with, because Araceli looks like a person, right? She looks like a real agent. No offense to Nicholas, Alma, Brenda, Rodolfo, or Patricia. And I don't even know what they look like. I don't even know if they really exist, or is this just some ghost figure hanging out in the interwebs, right? So Homework item number 1 was to download the app and brand it to yourself. Homework item number 2, guys, go into your KW Command marketing profile. You can go into the settings of KW Command, click on Connect Settings, and then fill out your entire marketing profile. Also, you'll want to go to kwconnect.com and make sure your profile is completely filled out there. Because what's going to happen is you're going to see a photo, right? You have the opportunity to upload a headshot, just like Araceli and Lane and Augustin and Mark have all done, right? I can just click on Araceli's and I can see, boom, there is her market center, her license number. She's got the address, mobile and office numbers, her email. I can even see a little bit more about her because she's filled out a basic bio as well. This allows me to make a connection to Araceli as an agent. If the consumer already knows which agent they want to work with, they do also have the opportunity to just search by the agent's name. So you can see I can type in my name, and then you're going to see there I am listed as an agent. And here's what my bio looks like. So again, I've even gone so far as to add in that I'm a Maps Mastery client, right? That's being pulled in. You can see that I've got a pretty extensive bio. I put in a little more information there than Araceli did. Not that it's bad or good, but again, you're looking for ways to make a connection. In addition, because I'm on a team, you can actually see the team that I'm on and then my team logo as well. So we definitely want you guys to make sure that the consumer is seeing you in all your glory, right? So a full bio, a professional looking headshot, you know, your phone numbers, your designations, the address to your market center, all of that information being pulled in. Once the consumer decides, yes, this is an agent I would like to do business with, they're going to click on the Get in Touch button at the bottom. Say that 5 times fast, right? They will click on the Get in Touch button at the bottom of the screen, and they'll get a pop-up that says, hey, this is going to designate Marty Miller as your agent. Do you want to do that? And they would click on Confirm. And then you can see it actually changes. If it's the first time you're doing it, you may have a little pop-up that says Marty Miller is now your agent. He'll help you buy, sell, etc. Right? So a little kind of done, confirming that they have selected. Now, since I've done this before, obviously it didn't pop up for me. This is what I would send if I were working with a consumer and I wanted to make sure that they had an app that was branded to me. I would take this screenshot right now that you can see on the screen of my phone, and I would send it to them and make sure that their app looks like my app, that it actually has my headshot and my name and my license number at the top. Otherwise, again, remember, they're just working with an unbranded version of the app. If they have an unbranded version, the features that we're going to show today, many of them are not available unless you are tied to an agent. So it's important if they want to get the full experience of the KW Consumer app that they select you as their agent. So that's a little bit about the app, how to download it, making sure that it's been branded, get your marketing profiles filled out so you look good and that consumers will want to make that connection with you when they're downloading the app, right? Let's dive into search. So let me click on search. And let's say, let me just ask a question. So let's do this. There's got about a dozen of you on the call. Someone tell me a recent vacation that they took in the US. Where did you go? Maybe not even, like, what did you go? Like, so example, Disney World, or I went to, I don't know, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or something fun like that. Anyone go anywhere fun the last time they went on vacation? Just throw it in the chat there. Somewhere fun that you went on vacation. And I know realtors and vacation doesn't often happen, but just throw it in there, somewhere that you went that was fun for vacation. You guys don't take a lot of vacations down there, do you? Either that or the dog's barking and you can't hear me. All right, so let's just say you went to, all right, Larry says he went to Kima. All right, Larry, so I'm gonna guess while you were down there, you might've gone to the Kima Boardwalk. Do you know the address of that, Larry? It's okay, I don't know the address either, but I can put in Kima Boardwalk and click on search, and I'm taken immediately to the Kima Boardwalk. Do you see how my screen is centered in, right in on the Kima Boardwalk? Let's say next year Larry says, you know what, I'm doing it, I'm going to Disneyland. He could actually type in Disneyland and search, and all of a sudden, now he says, you know what, I had such a great time, I'd like to live near Disneyland and see all of the homes that are around Disneyland. Maybe he says, nah, California's too jacked up for me, but I don't mind Florida, I want to go to Disney World. And he can search for homes that surround Disney World. Maybe you're really adventurous and you want to get involved in politics and you say, I'd like to live near the White House. I can search for, not the Hoot House, the White House. And now I can see properties for sale around the White House. For me, I'm a big wine guy, and one of my favorite wineries is Silver Oak Winery. Silver Oak Winery. And immediately I can start looking for homes for sale around the Silver Oak Winery. How many addresses did I put in those 6 search categories? Did I put in a single address? Did I even put in a single state? And yet, because our KW Consumer app is connected with Google and our partnership with Google, basically when I'm typing in that box, it's basically telling Google, go search for what the most likely address is associated with this search term, and then zero in the map on that actual search term. So obviously we're looking up Kima Boardwalk and Silver Oak Winery and Disneyland and Disney World, and Google is saying, okay, the most likely address associated with that search term is this address. We'll zoom the map in directly on that. So it's a great way if you're a consumer, say, hey, I've always wanted to live near X, right? Whatever X is, they can actually search for it and then get taken on the map to the location of X and start seeing homes that are available for sale around it. Guys, this doesn't happen on those other apps that your consumers may be using, right? Have them go search for homes around the White House with Zillow. Have them go use Redfin to search for Disneyland, right? They may end up on Disneyland Street or White House Boulevard, something like that, but they're not going to find things like Silver Oak Winery. So that's one of the cool things that you can do with our consumer app is that you can search for landmarks in addition to things like addresses, neighborhoods, cities, states, school districts, etc. We're going to walk through those here in just a second as well. So I just talked about neighborhoods. Somebody throw a popular neighborhood in the chat for me. Whoops. In the chat, somebody throw a popular neighborhood that's in y'all's neighborhood, that's in y'all's city or area. The Woods. Okay, Marcos says the Woods. Marcos, is that McAllen, Harlingen? Which city are we in? Brownsville. Okay, so I put in the Woods, Brownsville. Now I just heard that's a pretty nice neighborhood, so I'm going to search for it, and it's going to zoom in. Marcos, is this the Woods in Brownsville? Yes, right? So it zoomed in immediately on that neighborhood and said, here's that neighborhood, the Woods, right? So I can start looking at property and say, well, there's some 225s, 540s, 659. What is this little neighborhood down here? Well, I can see that's McAllen Road. And if I come over here, well, there's Santander and Brownsville Spanish Trail. And then I can see there's Heritage Place, Heritage Place 2, Lakeway, Westlake, right? So we have the ability to zoom in on any of these areas and see the actual neighborhoods, right? And let's just say, okay, here's Brownsville Country Club. All right, I want to know more about this neighborhood. So I can actually click on the neighborhood name and I can get a quick snapshot about what's happening in that neighborhood. So here's the average days on market, home price, and price per square foot. Here's what the locals are saying about this area. It's going to give me commute times from the center of Brownsville to this neighborhood, right? Or to 3 separate locations as well. I'm going to show you how the consumer, or you as the consumer, can put those locations in and they can be custom to what you're searching for, right? Do you want to live near work? Do you want to live near school? Do you want to live near church? Do you want to live near the grocery store, right? Whatever that may be, you can put those separate locations or places is what we call them into your app and then get a drive time from any one of these neighborhoods or listings. In addition, we can see the schools that are listed for Brownsville Country Club. We can see if there's any private schools nearby. We can see what other places are around this neighborhood. Again, we've already talked about our exclusive partnership with Google. We also have a partnership with Yelp. So you can see on this map, there are a lot of restaurants and even what looks like a bar or nightclub right around this neighborhood. And each one of those are indicated by that little fork and knife icon. And just below, I can scroll through and say, oh, there's some pretty decent restaurants right around the neighborhood. We wouldn't have to go far if we like to eat out pretty regularly. I can keep scrolling. I can get all of the homes that are currently for sale, or in this case, looks like there's a couple lots as well. And I can scroll through and see if any of those tickle my fancy with regards to this neighborhood. And guys, we can do all of that for any one of these neighborhoods. Now just be careful because sometimes you're going to get a view like this, and let's get out of Brownsville Country Club, and you'll see, okay, there's no neighborhoods on this view right now that you can see on my phone. So I have to scroll in, and I'm basically just taking my thumbs and I'm spreading them out, right, to zoom, and then to zoom in, zoom out, zoom in. So as I spread out, I'm zooming in. And then once I get to a point, you'll see the neighborhoods start popping up. So you can see the blue outlines and the neighborhood names were there. But you do have the ability to search for any neighborhood that exists in the Nextdoor system. Okay, so Nextdoor is powering these neighborhoods. That's another partnership that we have. So guys, when you start talking about our consumer app with your consumers, you want to talk about the ability to, one, we have partnerships with Google, we have partnerships with Nextdoor, we have partnerships with Yelp, and that's all powering a different information all within our consumer app. Makes it much more powerful. In addition, I have the ability to do just a standard good old-fashioned home search. All right, so at the very top of the screen, underneath city, address, school, and zip, you can see I can search for price. So let's just say I'm looking for homes in your area between 200 and let's just say 300. I didn't tell you earlier, but I am a happy husband with 2 twin 5-year-old daughters, and our third is on the way. Little Lily will be here August 19th. So 3 girls got to have at least 4+ bedrooms. Property type, I would say a single family home because we have 2 dogs. They're going to need their own yard. I can click on more, and then I can come in and say, okay, well, I've got the bedrooms and the price and the property type. Listing type I can click on, and you can see then I can look for a variety of different listing types. If I'm actually looking for properties that are for lease or for rent, I can click on that for rent slider. And then now I'm looking at lease listings as compared to for sale listings, where I can go back and toggle on for sale. And it defaults to actives, but if you wanted to see any of the rest of those, you could. 3 girls, I got to have at least 3 bathrooms, excuse me. Living area, we're in 2,600 right now. The COVID quarantine has been a little tight. Let's make sure we got at least 3,000 square feet to maybe 4,500, somewhere in that range. And then you can see there are additional filters that I could select from as well. Then I can click on done. And right now at the areas that I'm looking at, there are no homes that match my criteria, but I could zoom out and let's scroll down just a little bit there. For some reason, price didn't take, so I want to put price back in. So what do we have? I think it was 250 to 350. And I can just scroll those over, and then I'm going to click on done. It looks like there's 1 property right now that matches my criteria. So let's go ahead and select that property. So now I can see a quick and easy picture of the home, right? And I can scroll up. So I'm holding down my finger on the screen. I'm dragging that photo up to the top. So I can see that there are 10 photos currently listed of this property. And I can swipe left and I can see some of those photos of the home, kind of get a better idea. This is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath home that's 4,300 square feet, listed for $345,000. And it looks like it's on the water. That's pretty cool. You can see that there's some white space just below the price, just above the address. If for any reason this home had a recent price decrease, you would see a little squiggly down arrow, and it would have a number. So like 5,000, 3,000, 7,000. It would tell you that there was a recent price decrease. So it's a quick and easy way for your consumer to see, okay, is this the current price? Yes, it is. Was it listed higher before? You can easily see any price decreases. Next, we've got 3 buttons. So we've got save, hide, and share. So save, let's say I'm still in the searching process and I'm looking at properties that I might be interested in. I want to create what's known as a collection or a group of homes that I like that I might want to go see with my agent at some point in the future. I could choose this one to be one of my favorites by clicking on save. And then it's going to ask me, okay, do you want to save this to one of your previously existing collections? Or do you want to create a new collection? You can see I've taught this class a few times. And so I could, by default, save it to my favorites. Or I could say, hey, I want to create a new collection. I'm going to call this Brownsville area homes. And then I'm going to click on the little radio button or the circle button right next to it, and then click on save. It's then going to save that as a favorite into my Brownsville area home collection. And I'll show you where we find that in just a second. Actually, let's just do it now. So I'm gonna click on that little down arrow on the top left. I'm gonna slide that listing down. And then you can see I get the toolbar again on the bottom. The fourth icon over, the heart-shaped icon says saved. And if I click on that, then you'll see there at the top is my recent collection of homes that I've been searching for. And I can click on it and immediately get into my Brownsville collection and see there's the Noble Drive property that I saved previously. Coming back out, if I were searching and I said, hey, you know what, that home just does not match my criteria, I could choose to hide it. I don't want to see that listing show up on the map anymore. So I click on the hide button, you'll see the eyeball turns red in just a second, gets kind of bloodshot, there we go. And now when I go back to the map, you'll see that it actually goes away. It grays out for now. And if I move the map and then I come back, it's going to show me no results are found because that property that I was just looking at, I've chosen to hide it. I won't see it anymore on my map. The only way to get those back is to click on more in the top right-hand corner again. We were just there when we were filtering our listing. We can come down to the very bottom and click on Show Hidden Listings. You see that button at the very bottom there? I can toggle that on, click on Done, and all of a sudden, now that property will show back up. I can click on it again, drag up, and click on Hide one more time. It will now unhide that listing. You can see the red eye went back to black, and now it's no longer hidden on my map. If I'm working with someone who's helping me purchase this home, whether it's my business partner, my wife, my husband, my family, my parents, whatever, I can choose to share this listing very easily by clicking on the share button. And you can see I can share that via a quick text. I can share that by just a standard text. This is what it would look like, right? You can share it via email, Facebook, any of the other opportunities there, any kind of chat programs you have saved on your phone. Now, just so you know, when you share that with someone, they're going to get a link that will take them to a landing page. So they don't have to have the app saved on their phone. It actually just takes them to an actual, like a page on the web that shows the property information. So they do not need to have the consumer app. It won't actually prompt them to download the consumer app either. So your consumer can share that with somebody that doesn't have the app and they can still see the property that they're interested in. Just below those three buttons, you've got two additional buttons, one for Keller Mortgage, one for Keller Covered. I like to think these are kind of the great CYAs, if you will. When I was in active production, I always did my best to tell my consumers always about Keller Mortgage. Right now, I'm really just working on agent referrals, past client referrals, so not quite as much production. And yet, even when I was working with active buyers, I was always nervous that I would forget to tell them about Keller Mortgage. And then I would worry, well, what if they find out that I was a Keller Williams agent and I didn't tell them about it and they didn't get to save all of that money. And now all of a sudden they were frustrated with me because they used a lender that they didn't save all the money that they could have saved with Keller Mortgage, and they think that's my fault. So one, we should be telling everyone about Keller Mortgage. Two, if we forget and they're using your app, boom, there's a button and it actually calculates based upon the home price how much they could possibly save using Keller Mortgage. If they click on that, it takes them directly to the Keller Mortgage site where they can then register and basically apply, and they can take that process from there, which is pretty cool. Keller Covered is the second button down, allows them to save up to 30% on their home insurance. So both of those kind of ensure that even if you have told them, they see it again. If you forgot to tell them, then they can see it on the app as well. As you start to scroll down, you can see the description of the property. So that's pulled straight from the MLS. Just below that, you're going to see three pieces of information. It's going to say courtesy, source, and MLS number. In the chat, somebody tell me who the listing agent is on this property. Who is the listing agent? Armando, you find it yet? Araceli? Araceli's on the call, and we were bragging on her. Look at that. Icon Realty, Alma says. Okay. Someone says Remax Elite. Okay. Now, can we say that Remax is most likely the brokerage? Who's the listing agent? It's okay, Alma, you're good. Here's the reality, guys. The listing agent isn't shown. Why is that important? How hard did you work to get this contact converted into a possible buyer or seller? How often do you work with buyers? You set them up on this property search after having an extensive, lengthy conversation, getting them converted into a buyer. You do a full buyer consult with them. All of a sudden, you start sending them properties, and then they ghost you. And you find out later on that they actually went around you directly to the listing agent and put an offer in on the property using the listing agent. Guys, when your consumers use our consumer app, the only way they can get additional information about one of these properties from the app is by asking you. You can see the big button at the bottom of the screen on every single listing says ask your agent. That comes directly to you. That doesn't go to someone who's paying to be a premier agent. That doesn't go to the listing agent. That doesn't get sent to 3 different agents and then you all fight over it. The lead comes back to you. This isn't necessarily a selling point for the consumer per se. However, it should be a selling point for you. One of the big reasons why you want to get your consumers on this app is so that you can have a better chance. And now, can they go to your local board or on Zillow and then find out who the listing agent is, contact them directly that way? Yeah, I'm not going to try and oversell it. However, that type of person you probably didn't want to do business with anyway. So it is one of the nicer features of our app. Go look on Zillow, make an account on Zillow. You will see not just the listing agent, but their premier agent and then any, right? Like there are a lot of opportunities for those consumers to find someone else to do business with. When you get them on your app, they click on Ask Your Agent, that information comes to you direct. So protect that time investment that you took into converting that person into a possible lead and then to a contact and then an opportunity by getting them on your app. So that way you don't lose them to the listing agent. Next, you've got the home details. So you can see that's all being pulled from the MLS, all the information that was put in. Commute times, we talked about that. I'll show you where you can find this. Those 3 addresses, that's my local HEB, my local Lifetime Fitness or gym, and then that's actually the address for my market center. So I'll show you how you guys can put in your own custom ones and how the consumer can do that as well. Again, it's pulling the schools for this particular listing, not just the neighborhood, but this actual listing. You know, sometimes neighborhoods are kind of split between 2 different schools or 2 different, you know, whatever it may be, but it's going to pull the actual listing information of the elementary, middle, and then high school, early college in this case. Here's the deal, guys. How often do we hear, don't be the source of the information, be the source of the information, right? So when we start looking at these statewide rankings for these schools, these might be good, these might be bad. I'm not in a place to judge. I'm only in a place to deliver the information. Because if I look at 68% and I say, well, that's not that good. Well, what if they're coming from a community where the average school score is 42%, 45%, 50%? They're like, wow, yeah, we want to get into that school because it has a much better rating, right? Ranking, whatever it may be. So it's a great way if people have concerns about saying, well, how good are the schools or what are the schools like in this neighborhood? You don't tell them good, you don't tell them bad. You just tell them, download my app and the app will provide you with the statewide ranking percentage scores, and then you can make a decision for yourself. Because I can't tell you whether 63 or 68 is good or bad. I can always tell you it's 68%, right? So another good selling point, they can search by landmark, they can search by neighborhood, they can get neighborhood data, they can get local attractions, meaning restaurants and clubs and bars and grocery stores and department stores, things like that. They can also get all the information about the local schools and make a decision for themselves whether those are schools that they're excited for their kids to go to. As we continue to scroll down, you can see if there's any open houses scheduled for this property. You can calculate a mortgage payment as a consumer. Just kind of make sure that there's some caution used here because you can't factor in taxes on this. You can factor in your mortgage interest and your payment, right? But you're not factoring in PMI or actual taxes. So just be careful when they're using this. I would still recommend they go with a lender to get a more defined payment amount, but it's a good kind of ballpark, if you will. Keller Mortgage, Keller Coverage show up one more time. Then you can see nearby homes to this one. So you're like, well, I like this one, but let me see, is there anything else nearby? And I can see some other properties that are near that listing as well. At the very bottom, it's pulling in the marketing information, again, from my profile, and then has my legal description and then all of the legal from KWRI as well. So that's just one listing that we've looked at, and yet they will all look relatively the same, just differing amounts of information. So if I want to go back to my search, I can hit the top left button there. It's going to minimize that listing. I can then drag it down. and get back to my map where I can continue to search. Let me ask you this. So at the bottom of your screen, you've got the little raise your hand button. Get ready to hit that if you're like me. How many of you, when you're driving around, riding around, or walking around, see a for sale sign and the first thing you want to know is how much is it? Raise your hand if you're like me. The first thing, I don't even care. It doesn't even look like a house I would like, right? But I'm just nosy. I want to know how much is it, right? Minerva, Larry, Joyce, we're all on the same page. Good. Here's a cool thing that also happens with our app. If I am anywhere in the US, I could be on vacation, I could be traveling for work, I could be just walking around my neighborhood, and I'm standing somewhere in front of a house that has a for sale sign. I want to know how much it is. I can pull up my KW app, and at the very top right-hand corner, you're going to see an arrow that's kind of cockeyed to the left there slightly. Click on that arrow. I am no longer in Brownsville. All of a sudden, I've been transported to Katy, Texas, right where I stand, sitting inside our investment property, delivering this class to you. So that is for anyone, anytime. How often are we driving around and you want to call on the sign, but you're like, I don't even know which street we're on. I don't know what neighborhood this is. We were just driving by. I don't know. My wife's taken 3 turns since then. I can't really tell you where the house is. So this is a great way for them to actually pull up. Right now, I have filters set from that previous search. So you can see that's only showing me one house nearby that matches the criteria I was looking for. But if I had no filters set, then it would show me all of the local properties. So that's a cool thing, is that you can search by location, meaning where I'm standing right now. I'm standing, there's the for sale sign. Let me click the arrow. It's going to pull up the listing right there, as long as it's active in the MLS, right? Which these days, we've only got, what, a day or two to get it active. So one more cool thing that the app can do is look for properties that are immediately near your current location. Now, earlier I spent time going through and I said, hey, here's the price point. Here's how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms. It's got to be single family, right? We talked about my search criteria. If I come into the app, I don't want to have to put that in every single time I come into the app. Okay, so I actually have the ability to save my search. However, we know sometimes, right, when people are looking, they're like, all right, so I see this map. This is sort of the area that I want to live in. And yet I want to live east of Avenue D, north of Franz. So I could actually click on the little draw icon towards the right top corner. There's a little finger there. If I click on it, I can then start tracing on the screen. Do you see that blue line start to show up? And I can say, this is where I want to search. I know this splits the neighborhood in half, but I want to live east of Avenue D, north of Franz. And you see it kind of put a big blue bubble around the area that I want to search in. You could use this for searching for school districts, right? Or specific school zones or specific areas. I want to live near my parents, but I want to live on this side of the lake or that side of the street or whatever it may be. They can trace any area that they're looking to trace. Now that I have a defined price point, bedrooms, bathroom count, number of houses, and price point, well, you can see right now there are no results in the area that I want to look for. But if I come back tomorrow to search again, I don't want to have to recreate that entire search. I can actually click on the ribbon button just above where the draw button was. It says save, and I can click on it. And then I can say, what do I want to make this saved search called? Now, I just know that neighborhood is called Fawn Lake. So I can put in Fawn Lake search. And I can click on save. And now, remember how we came back to our saved collections earlier? I can actually click on the heart button at the bottom, in the bottom toolbar there, fourth icon over. And I have my saved collections at the top, which I showed you. Those are my Brownsville area homes. But at the bottom, I actually have my recent saved search. So let's say that we had gotten out of here and we were looking around and I was kind of just farting around looking at different properties and I'm like, I don't know why I'm looking anywhere else. I want to go back to my Fawn Lake search. I can click on saved, click on Fawn Lake search, and immediately it pulls up that same criteria that I put in earlier. I don't have to go through that whole process one more time. So it's a great way for you to easily pull back up that search criteria that you know you're looking for as a buyer and then see it every single time. So pretty exciting kind of setup where, and you can have, you guys can see, view all on recent saved searches. I've taught this class several times and I've got all of these different searches set up. So maybe these are searches around where I'm looking to live, but I want to have them separated. Because if I can really afford it, I'd like to live in this neighborhood. but I'll probably end up this neighborhood because there's more homes in my price point here. But maybe 10 years from now, I want to live on the water, and that would be this neighborhood. I want to get an idea of what's happening for my investment property, so that's this search over here. I want to keep an eye on what's happening with my parents' home, so that's this saved search down here, right? So you can see that you can set up all different searches depending on kind of what you're looking for. How many times have you had somebody say, well, I'd like to live in Fawn Lake or Pine Lakes, or maybe Cinco Ranch, but North Cinco Ranch, I don't like South Cinco, you know, and like they're going through all the different places. Well, you could set up separate searches for each one of those, and then they can kind of look at new properties going through each one of those different search criteria. So that's where you find all of your saved searches. Questions so far? Who's got any questions? So we've looked at listings. We've looked at the different search criteria. Oh, one more thing, let me show you. How many of you have either gone on a buyer showing or gone on a listing appointment, and you get to the house and you're like, ooh, I wish I would have known it back to that. Or I wish I would have known a little bit more about this neighborhood. It looks like a lot of, you know, whatever. You can actually, so I used to go on listing appointments a lot of times when I was the listing agent and VP of sales, VP of expansion. That's all I did was go on listing appointments. More than one time, I went on a listing appointment that backed to something that I was like, oh, one time it backed to the local high school. And it was literally back to the practice football fields where the marching band played starting at 7 a.m., like during the summer. And I was like, ooh, this is going to be a tough sell. Another time I went to a listing appointment and it backed to a car wash, right? And so I was like, oh, what am I going to do about that? So it would have been nice. I started using Google Earth on all my future listing appointments. So I had an idea of, all right, let me get a better idea of this neighborhood. Well, here's the cool thing, guys. You don't have to do that. You don't have to go to Google Earth because who do we have an exclusive relationship with? Google. So is Google Earth already included in our app? Better believe it. Click on more in that top right-hand corner. You'll see that there's the listing filter, which you spent a lot of time in earlier. And then there is the map filter. So if I click on map, you're going to see you have two tabs there, default and satellite. If I click on satellite and then click on done, now all of a sudden I get the aerial view. So I can actually start zooming in, right? And you can get a better idea. Let's see, I'll zoom in and you guys can actually see. No, that's not it. Where's my house? There it is. This is my house. So you could say, hey, Marty's got an amazing front yard and not so much of a big backyard. Like literally, this is one of the reasons we're looking to move in the future is we have such a tiny backyard. That's just because that's the way that they built the community. All of the homes have a setback amount. When you're on this curve, you can see they're all set back from the curve. So we all have relatively small backyards and really big front yards. So that's just one more thing. If you were going to on a listing appointment and maybe it was a property over here, right? These were one of the properties you were going to list. Well, it might be nice to know that that backs to raw land. And then you're going to want to have a conversation. Okay, well, who owns this land? And is that going to be commercial or residential? Because gosh forbid you help someone buy one of these properties and then come to find out they're going to put up apartments right in their backyard. Wouldn't that be something that the buyer might be really frustrated with you that you didn't know? So it kind of gives you some idea of what's happening. And you can just zoom in and say, okay, well, like in our neighborhood, just so you know, we get fined if we park our car in the street for more than 24 hours. So you can see there are not a lot of vehicles parked in the street. Now that's just something that our HOA has, but you can kind of get an idea about that. You can see, are there power lines? Are there walking trails? You can see there are walking trails in our little community around the lake here. It just gives you some better ideas of what's happening around that property that you're looking to either show for a buyer or list for a seller. And again, if you click on that more button in the very top right-hand corner, you can just go to map, which is at the top again, and then toggle back to default if you wanted to. So either default or satellite, you choose. Default's going to show you the neighborhoods and it's going to show you the names of the streets, but it doesn't have the aerial view. And you can just decide as you're looking at it, which is more important for you to view. Okay. Alma had a question, so ask your agent. Alma, right now, that should provide you with a Kelly notification and should, when you go into your contact record, so this is assuming that you already have yourself as a contact in command and that the email you have for that contact record is the same one that you use to register for the app so that those two connect. then you'll get an alert in command saying someone has asked you a question from your app, and then you can answer the question there. In the future, it's not right now, right? We are working actively on notifications, but in the future, there may be an ability to actually set up text notifications and email notifications when someone asks you a question. But right now, it's really important that you have Kelly downloaded and you're paying attention to that app, and that you are in command regularly, so you can look at the little bell icon on the top bar. I'll show you that in just a second, so you can see when alerts are coming in. All right, so we have spent time in the search icon in the bottom left. The next one over is called Feed. Right now, Feed is something that is being continually developed and worked on. So right now, there's not much that it can do. However, in the future, it's where you'll actually communicate directly with your consumer. So you'll actually have the ability, the goal is when we have our agent app, the agent mobile app, that you can actually communicate both from command and command mobile to your clients via the feed. So that's where you would have conversations there. So they're still working on developing that portion. We spent a lot of time under the More button, and we've looked at saved searches and saved properties. So right now I want you to click on Guide. That button in the middle looks like a little baton. Click on Guide. When you do, you're going to see that you get two tabs. One is a buying guide, one is a selling guide. Now remember, the consumer is on this app, using this app, and they're going to look and they're going to say, oh, cool, okay, so this is what it must be like to buy a house with the Martinez team, or with Marcos, or with, right? And so they are looking at your app, and this is really important, guys. They are assuming that you wrote this. I know you didn't write this. I know KWRI did on your behalf, and yet you have to remember the consumer assumes that you wrote this, that this is the process that I'm going to go through when I buy a house or when I sell a house with the agent that supplied me this app. And so I say that because homework item number, I think we're on 4 now, is that I want you to come in and explore this guide, meaning that you have clicked on every single one of these steps and you have read through all of the information included on each of them. Okay, that might take a little bit of time. And yet what you are doing, if you don't read through this, is you are inadvertently setting expectations for your clients that you may be completely unaware that they have. And they're going to call you and say, hey, well, you told me you were going to do this and you didn't do it. And you're going to say, when did I say I was going to do that? They're like, well, you said it on your app. I was reading through your app and it said you do this and that and this and that, and you haven't done any of those things. Now, I would hope that you're doing the majority of the items that are already included in the app, but if you don't know what they are, how do you know if you're doing them, right? In addition, you have the ability to add steps. There may be things that you do that aren't included in the actual app breakdown. For example, the listing app, right, the guide for selling, it has 5 steps. Literally 5 steps. Now, each one of these steps is very comprehensive. Don't get me wrong. You can see there's a lot of information included in each one of them. However, for me, I always thought about it as one, a lot of times I had to fight for the right to earn my commission. Like, people just sometimes feel like we're not worth 3%. That's always frustrating. And if they're using my guide and they say, really, I'm paying you $10,000 or $6,000 or whatever it may be to sell my home and you're only doing 5 steps, like, doesn't seem like a lot of work. So in my world, I would probably take, for example, the showing your home step, and I would elaborate it out from 1 step, maybe into 3 or 4 different steps. I'm going to show you how you, as the agent, we're going to put our agent cap back on in just a second, how you can customize these guides to include additional steps, to edit the steps, to remove information, rename the steps, even change the photos. A lot of different things that you can do on the actual guide for your consumer. For example, showing your home. I might think that, okay, before we even show it, first we got to stage it. So I might have a step that says staging your home. Then there's a step that says preparing your home for photography and videography. And then there would be a step that says preparing your home to go live in the MLS. And then we're going to get into showing your home, right? Then it's reviewing offers, but look, it doesn't even talk about negotiating offers. So you can see that it just goes straight into the inspection. We're already under contract. So first we're going to review offers, then we're going to negotiate offers, and we're going to accept an offer, and then, right? So you can see how you can add different steps. For me, I just feel like the more steps, the better. So it seems like we are actually going through a process. The other cool thing is that you can see these little white circles next to each one of the steps. You have the ability, when you're working with the consumer through their opportunity, as long as they are tied to you, meaning that one, they've downloaded your app, and two, like I said earlier, the email that they used to register for the app is the same one you have in their contact record, then those two, the app will connect to command, and you can check off these steps as you go through them, so that at any point they can look down at their app and say, okay, I know where we are right now with regards to this transaction. Guys, this is a selling point. When you're on the buyer consult, when you're at the listing presentation and you're having to compete, right? Because we know very often we are, and they're saying, you know, what's going to make it different? What do you do that's unique? Talk to them about this app. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, at any point during this entire sales process, you will never have to worry about where are we and what's next, because you're going to be able to use my selling guide. I will check off each step as we do it. It is 6 steps, 9 steps, 17, 22 steps long. It is very custom to this process, and you will know everything that we are doing as I continue to update the app and check off steps. Now, of course, you can call me at any point, but I know sometimes you don't want to call, you just want to know where are we. Well, that's a quick and easy thing that you can do using my app. Same thing for the buyer, right? The buyer, it might be a first-time home buyer, they're very nervous, they don't understand the process. They can easily, right, and you can sell them, if you will, on this guide by showing them, look, I'm going to walk you through all 10, 9, 12, 15 of these steps as we go through the buying process. I'm going to be here for you every step of the way. You're never going to have to worry about what should we be doing next, because you can look at the app and you'll know what we've done and what the next step is that we need to be preparing for. Guys, for your high C's and your high S's, the ones that are really nervous and they want to know what's next and what are we supposed to do, they wake up in a cold sweat at 1 o'clock at night saying, I don't know what's next. They can access this app, your app, that you're walking them through and see every step of the way. Okay, so again, it's a little bit of homework, but you're going to need to come in and look through all of these guide steps and decide, do I like it this way? Do I want to add anything? Do I want to change anything? Do I want to remove anything? And I'll show you now how we're going to edit this guide. So we're actually going to come out of our app and we're going to go into command. So I'm going to stop that share. Let's minimize that picture and let's get into my command. And we are in the consumer app. Okay, not app, excuse me, consumer applet. All right, the second to last one is called consumer. So when I click on that, you'll see I get taken into a page with 3 different tabs at the very top. I've got landing pages, agent site pages, and guide builder. If I click on guide builder, you can see this is where I can start customizing that guide. Here's the other cool thing, guys. In the future, you'll have the ability to actually create additional guides. So think about a buyer's guide for a first-time home buyer versus a luxury buyer versus a farm and ranch buyer versus a commercial buyer. You could even create a guide for a tenant, and then on the flip side, for a landlord, for a luxury seller, for a first-time home seller, for a lot seller, for an investment property buyer, right? And create, and they can be relatively the same, and yet I would argue the first-time home buyer might be a little more comprehensive of a guide. Luxury, you might be doing some additional steps when you go to list a luxury property than you would do for a standard property, so maybe you're including some extra steps there. That's kind of how you can have in the future. And then you would decide based upon when someone downloads that app and you create an opportunity for them, which guide you're going to assign them to show up in their app. So that's pretty cool. Right now, you only have the 2 stock ones. So it's a buyer guide or seller's guide. And if you wanted to come in and make edits at any time, really anywhere in command, you want to edit something, you're always clicking on the pencil. So again, I came to the consumer applet down here. I clicked on guide builder. You can see the 2 guides. And now I'm going to edit the selling guide. You see when we do that, that there are 3 choices here. So you can see we've got 3 choices. I don't know where that came from. You've got 5 steps that are here. If I want to edit this step, I can click on it. And then you can see, well, I've got the ability to change the photo. I've got the ability to change the card title. I've got the ability to change the card subtitle, which is just kind of like teaser text, if you will. And then remember, when they click on each one of these, they get additional information. That's called the workspace details and workspace text. So you can see that's all here. So as you're reading through it on your phone, you may make some notes and decide, hey, I don't want this to happen. I do want this to happen. I want to add that, whatever it may be. I want to split these out into separate steps. and edit that workspace text to make sure it's exactly how you want it. If you want to add a step, you can scroll down to the bottom, and click on add a step, and that's going to allow you to create a custom step or then select another default step. If you removed it and you want to add it back, you could do that. If it was custom, you could put in the title, the new subtitle, the picture or card image, and then once you've created it, you could go back in and create the new workspace details. If you need to reorder them, because by default that new step will show up at the bottom, you just click on this little tab with the 6 white dots, and you can drag it up and down and then make those changes as necessary. So that's my recommendation, is that you spend some time on these guides and you go through, and if you don't change anything, that's fine. Just make sure you understand what it actually says so that you can be held appropriately accountable to the actions that you said you were going to do. Earlier, I showed you that you could walk through a consumer. Once they have the guide, I'm going to show you how you do that. So once you have someone that has downloaded your app and become a contact, you would need to create an opportunity for them in order to start walking them through the steps. We don't create our opportunity only when we go under contract. Okay, so we want to have those guides built the opportunities built way in advance so that we can start walking them through the process way before they actually get under contract. Because you don't want to have anything updated in their guide and all of a sudden you create the opportunity, you're like, oh shoot, we got to check off the first 7 steps because we've already done all of that, right? So the only way to move them through the guide is from an opportunity. So I can click on opportunities. I have one already built out with the contact. I actually shared it with one of my friends, said, hey, can you download this so I can use you to test? And she was nice enough to do it. So that's my friend Elena. So I can click on this opportunity, right? So I'm in my listing pipeline. This is just one I've dropped in Cultivate right now. It doesn't really matter which pipeline or which phase that it's in or what stage. It's all going to be the same process. But you can see I can click on the actual opportunity and I get taken in. You can see there's multiple tabs here at the very top. Seller profile is the tab that I want to be in to walk them through the steps of the guide. So I can click on seller profile. And then you can see that they actually have, all right, here's Elena. She has registered with the consumer platform. This white check mark or green with white circle check mark means that they have either registered on your site or registered on your app, and they were not previously a contact in your database. Okay, so it's an important differentiation. If somebody already in your database downloads your app, you'll still see them here, but right now you don't get that check mark. That is just for people that came into your database from the consumer app or the actual consumer, your agent website. Okay? You can see underneath that, I have the guide tab where it says I can manage the guide. If I click on that, because this is a listing guide, you'll see the 5 steps. So here they are. And you can see we have already completed the first 4. Now, if for some reason we had not gotten the appraisal, I could uncheck that. Or if we'd gotten the appraisal and we were ready to close, I could click on that and then click on Save Changes and save changes one more time. When Elena pulls up her app on her phone, she would actually see a check mark next to all 5 of the listing-based site or listing-based guide items, if you will, the 5 steps. So it's kind of a cool way to walk through. Now, here's the deal, guys. If you're going to use this as a selling point when you're selling yourself at the listing appointment or the buyer consult, you've got to make sure you're doing it, because you would hate to sit down at closing and be like, Marty, we're at the closing table. It looks like we've only done 2 steps on your app, right? Or remember back when you told me we were going to walk through each one of these steps and you didn't check any of this stuff off. Was that just was that fake? Was that real? So making sure that you're actually walking them through the guide if you're going to talk to them about as a selling point. You should be walking them through it either way. But my recommendation is that you use it, right? Use it as a selling point. It's an edge. Those other realtors that you're competing against, they don't have an app like this. So differentiate yourself by saying, this is just one more reason why you want to work with a Keller Williams agent like me, because you have access to this guide that will walk you through the steps, fully customized to the process that I deliver. You'll always know where we stand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So sell yourself and then sell the app as an additional selling point. How do we get the app into the hands of our consumers, right? Hang out, Armando. Is there a way to add a guide as a page in our KW site? I believe they are working on that, Armando. I think that they are working on that process where when they log into your actual agent site, it's actually there as well. I don't know if it's 100% there, but that has been a question that's been asked as well. Hey, if we can have the guide on the app, can we have the guide on our agent site? It would only be available for someone who's already registered on your agent site. It wouldn't just sit there, you know what I mean? So they are working on that opportunity. So how do we share the app with our consumers to make sure that they are downloading a branded version of our app? If we come back to the consumer applet, second one to the last here, and again, guys, if you don't know what these buttons mean, you can always hover over them. You can see they slide up. You can also click on this red square at the top, and they slide out, and then you can actually see the name. So if you're looking for consumers, that second to last one, I want to know what the actual app link is for my app so that I can send it out. I'll only have to go into Site and App Settings here at the top right-hand corner, Site and App Settings. And once I do that, right now I get 4 tabs. There's going to be a 5th tab that's coming soon, just so you know. I'm going to show you that in just a second. But right now there are 4 tabs, and I'm going to click on URLs. And then you can see I have an app URL and an app text code. App text code is going away. Please do not use it. They've had some major issues with the reliability of that code working. So scratch it. Just don't even think about it. Just share your actual app code. So app.kw.com and then /your code. If you're typing this in manually, please realize that it is case sensitive. So you have to have app.kw.com and lowers /your whatever, I think it's 7-digit code in uppercase, okay? You can also just quickly and easily click on copy, and then you can paste that, whether you're sending an email one-off to somebody, or maybe you're sending it to a Facebook message for somebody, whatever it may be. You can just paste it after copying it from your URL tab under the consumer applet, okay? So number 1, send it out manually. Just copy it here and then send it out, okay? Method number 2, we actually have a smart plan built around sharing your app. So the smart plan applet is the 4th one down. It looks like a little diploma here. So I can click on that. And then you can see here are all of my smart plans that I have pulled over or custom created. You'll see I have it already in my smart plans. It's called Promote My App. If you don't have it in your personal library yet, you can always come to the full library, and then you'll see Promote My App should be this first one. You can click on View Steps, and you'll see that it's 5 steps with 3 touches. The first thing it does is sends out an email talking about your app and why this consumer should download it. They can actually, in the email, there's a little box, and they can put in their phone number, and it'll send a text directly to their phone where they can download it straight there on their phone as well. It's going to wait 1 day, and then it's going to send out a text. Now, it's only going to send the text on your behalf if you have your Twilio account connected. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Twilio, get with your leadership team there, get with your tech drivers, and they will talk to you about Twilio and how to get that connected. It is not free, and it is not expensive. Okay, so they charge you $20 to start the account, and then every text is less than 1 penny per text, 0.7. So less than a penny per text that goes out. Once you connect Twilio, then texts like this are automatically being fired. All you have to do is put the person on the smart plan, and the texts are going out on your behalf. Side note on Twilio, they are being sent from a phone number that is not your personal cell phone number. Twilio is based out of Austin, so those phone numbers are coming from a 512 area code. You can actually go to Twilio support and order a local phone number, a local area code, a local number, and then have that number switched so it doesn't come from the 512. That costs you $1 a month, so extremely expensive, right? A full $1 a month to have your own custom number. So get in. I highly, guys, I cannot recommend Twilio enough. There's so many things that you can do with Twilio in your consumer, or your command platform. You can send out bulk text, custom texts, text from smart plans. There's just a lot of cool things. And response rate on text, significantly higher than response rate on phone calls or emails. So I'm a big fan of Twilio. This is the first text that goes out, then it's going to wait 3 more days, and it's going to send out 1 more text. The cool thing on both of these texts, you can see where it says KW app link and KW app link. It's actually sending out your custom version, your app link, not my app link, not anyone else's app link. When they get that text, they can click on it and they're going to get a branded version of your app immediately. They don't have to go through the branding process. Once they download it, it'll automatically be your app. So that's a pretty cool thing. So method number 1, manually share it. Method number 2, put your contacts on the Promote My App Smart Plan. Method number 3, share it via social media. So campaigns is our 7th icon down. It looks like a microphone. We can click on campaigns. Joyce, great question. So Joyce is asking, how do I change that text wording? Let's do that, and then we'll come back to campaigns. So Joyce, once you have added the smart plan into your smart plans, you can see I have it here. I've moved it from the library into my smart plans. You'll see there's a pencil icon over here. If it's grayed out, you can't change the actual smart plan. So you can see like the bi-weekly and monthly neighborhood nurture, you can't change those. However, you can change the Promote My App by clicking on the pencil. Again, anywhere you want to edit, just click on a pencil. And you'll see it'll bring up the smart plan here. Here's the email, right? Now I can't change that email. However, I can come down and change the texts. So here's the actual text. I'll tell you, so I am the product of 2 elementary educators. My dad was an assistant principal and principal. My mom was a teacher and a librarian. I am big on grammar. I was the newspaper editor for my high school newspaper as a sophomore, and then again as a junior and senior. That's in my blood. This text actually didn't have a question mark when it first started. It actually just has a period. So if you're looking at yours, it'll say, did you see that a neighbor listed a home in your area, period? I'm like, dude, that's a question. You got to have a question mark. So you can make any changes to any of these texts, whatever you'd like, and then just click on the check mark to save it. And that will be the new text that goes out for anyone that gets added after that fact. You also have what are known as merged fields, this little F period with the quotation marks or the parentheses around it. If you click on that, you can see this is pulling in information either from you as the agent or them as the contact, and it auto fills. So in this case, it says, hey, this is Marty Miller with KW, and it has my first name and last name. If I didn't like that, and I just wanted to have my last name, I could say, oh, I just wanted to say, hey, this is Marty with KW. If I want to go back and say, now that I think about it, I probably do want my last name in there, I can come back, click on merge fields, and then say agent last name. And you'll see now it says, hey, this is Marty Miller with KW. You can also put in the contact name. So I could say, hey, space, merge field, contact first name, comma, this is, so it'd say, hey, Joyce, if you were on my smart plan, this is Marty Miller with KW. Did you see that a neighbor listed a home in your area? Download my brand new KW app to check it out. And then it's going to be my actual app link. So to save that, I would just click on the check mark. And now this smart plan has now been saved with that edit. So that's how you can change it. You can change it to this one. You can also change it to the second one as well. So to this one, I actually did change. I think it says, hey, it's Marty with KW. I don't think that was there originally. So again, I teach this class a lot, so it may changes sometimes. I forget about them. But that's the quick and easy way to change the actual text that are being fired on your behalf from Twilio. Let's jump into campaigns, and I'm going to show you the social campaigns that are already loaded for you. And then we're going to go in. We've got a pending app update that's probably going to happen within the next week or two. And I want to show you some of the cool things that are coming with that app update. So once I come into campaigns, 7th icon down, looks like a megaphone. I'm going to come up to the top and click on social posts, social posts. Now, you have to have your Facebook account and your Twitter account, or one or the other or both, right, actually connected within campaigns. And Joyce, let me cover this. I see your hand up. I will unmute you in just a second. Let me cover a social post, and then we'll answer your question here hopefully. So when I come into settings, I have the ability to connect my Facebook and my Twitter. I want to make sure that I connect Facebook post scheduling, Twitter post scheduling, and then just for good measure, you want to come down and click on connecting your ads manager for Facebook and Twitter as well. Then when I come in campaigns and social posts, you'll see that as I scroll down on the right-hand side here, there's these 2 posts underneath social posts. These are what we call quick posts. Because I've had a lot of people say, well, I'm just not that good with Facebook. I'm not that good with Twitter. I'm not creative. I don't know what to say. Cool. Don't worry about it. the marketing team's already done it for you. You can see here are 2 posts that have already been created for you. I can click on this little arrow and it's going to bring up that post. It's already going to have text created, right? And if I don't like what this text says, I can change it, but it gives me a good starting point. It's already got a professionally designed marketing photo with information. My logo is already included. All I have to do now is decide, do I want this post to go out immediately or do I want it to be scheduled? And if I want it to be scheduled, then I can just come down and say, all right, cool. I want this one to go out on, let's say, Monday, May 4th, and I'd like it to go out on 9 a.m. Then I can click on preview if I want to see what it looks like. It's going to give me an idea here. Now, this is only going out on Facebook right now, but I could come down and say, yep, I want it to go out on my Twitter channel as well, and then schedule that post. It's going to say, this is what it looks like in Facebook. I can say, what does it look like in Twitter? That's what it looks like in Twitter. And then I can schedule the post. Here's the cool thing, guys. It automatically brought in my app link. So if there are people that seeing it that want to download my app link, they can click on it and it literally sends them the message to download my actual link. So I can click on schedule posts. Boom. This post is now easily, quickly scheduled for May 4th. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a second. You can see that previously, right? Let's go back to this week. I've taught this class a few times. I already have a post that went out on Monday that I scheduled previously. I've got a post that's going out today. We published this, it was already published this morning. And then I've got one, you can see it already says published. And then I've got one that's already scheduled to go out on Friday. During this class, I just scheduled one to go out on next Monday. So here I am quickly and easily scheduling posts for my Facebook business page and for my Twitter account. Now, it looks like there's only 2 of them, and you're like, well, that's not going to last very long. I can't just keep scheduling those same 2 posts. Well, if you click on shuffle, you're going to get 2 more. Now, this one might look weird because you're like, it's just a black screen. What is that? Like, that one must be broken. This one is actually the app video from Family Reunion, and I highly recommend posting this one at least once a week. I'm going to play a few seconds of it so you can kind of get an idea of what the video is. But you can feel free to come in. Now, sometimes you have to click shuffle like 10 times for the video one to come up from the shuffle, right? Think about when you're shuffling cards, how often does the ace show up? And sometimes it shows up the first time you turn the card over. So shuffle, just keep hitting it, and eventually you'll get this video to show up. So you can get a good idea there. It's been professionally created. It's got great music. It's got great, right, digital kind of trends of half movie and half kind of still images, etc. If I want to post this video, same process as before, I just click on the arrow. It's got the message here. Now I can even shuffle this message. If I'm like, oh, I think I used that message last time, I'm going to click on shuffle again. Actually, it doesn't do it for the video. It will do it for the other post. It has 2 or 3 different texts that are in there. Here's the reality, guys. I'm going to post this every single week, and I don't care if it's the same exact text, because the Facebook algorithm pretty much guarantees that the same people that saw it last week are not going to see it again this week. And even if they do, I'm not really that concerned about it. That's okay. All right, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? They're going to like unfriend my page. Well, okay, it's one person that leaves. However, all the other people are seeing it regularly. So I want this to go out on Facebook and Twitter. I don't want to publish it immediately because I've already published it this week. So I'm going to click on schedule post, and let's click on the calendar. I'd like this to go out next week on Wednesday at this case, and let's do this one at 9:30. So I can actually click on that box, type in 9:30, schedule the post. It's going to say this is what it looks like, and this is what it looks like on Twitter, and I'm going to schedule it. And now you can see that I've got one going out on Monday, May 4th, and now the video is going out on Wednesday, May 6th. Guys, here's my recommendation. Take 20 minutes. You saw how quickly I did that. I've already got 2 posts scheduled for next week. Take 20 minutes a week. Time block it. Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, Friday before you head off for the weekend, whenever. I don't care when you schedule it for, but schedule it consistently every single week. It does not take long to come in here using the quick posts and schedule content for your Facebook business page and your Twitter account. when you go on an appointment or you have a buyer consult, guys, if you don't think that they're looking you up on social media, you're kidding yourself. And we know Facebook is probably the most common place that they're looking you up. They may look for Summit Property Group or Marty Miller, right? And if they see you haven't posted something to your page in the last 6 months, how strongly are you representing yourself and your brand in that case? So this is a quick and easy way, right? We're getting it out manually by sharing the link. We're getting it out via the actual smart plan, sharing the link. And now I can be sharing the link on my social media channels through campaigns. So 3 very quick and easy, simple ways for me to be sharing my app link to get more people downloading it. Earlier, I told you there was a way to see who's downloading it. So if I click on contacts, there's actually a new filter. So you can start to see, okay, how much success am I having? Are people actually clicking on my links? Am I getting new, right? This is new contacts into my database from the ad or the post that I'm running, etc. So the filter, right, I'm in my contacts. I'm going to click on filters, and then it's branded to me, this bottom right-hand corner. This is the new filter. And if I click on it, I can say yes, and then apply. And now these are all people that were not previously in my database, but saw a post or something I shared with them or whatever, and they clicked on it and then registered on following my actual link. Okay, so they followed my link. They weren't in my database before. Once they register using my app link, they are become a contact, or a lead in this case, in your command database. So it's a good way to see what are the results. Now, if they're already in your database, again, they're not going to show up on this list. I'm not going to get that check mark, okay, just so you know. But it's only if they were not previously in my database. Not sure why it's taken so long. Again, anytime this happens, I always just click on refresh real quick, see if that'll unhook, and it should load the contacts in just a second. So now these are all of my contacts. I'm just going to go back to that filter one more time and click on apply, and hopefully it'll show up just a little bit quicker this time, right? So that's a good way for you to kind of judge. There we go. That shows up. Here are the 6 people that have come into my database because they used a link either from my agent site page, they registered there, or from my consumer app, they registered there. Okay. Joyce, you still got your hand up, so I'm going to click on allow to talk here, and then I'm going to unmute you. You can unmute yourself from your side and then ask what your question was, and let's get that answered if you still had it. But Joyce, go ahead. You'll just need to unmute yourself from your side in order to ask that question should you still have it.
I didn't have a question.
Just kidding. Were you just waving at me? That's what you were doing, weren't you? You were just saying hi? Awesome. Well, hi, Joyce. Well, good to hear your voice either way. So good to see you. Good to hear your voice. And let me know if you do have any other questions. I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand. And if you do need anything else, just give me a shout by raising your hand again. All right. So we have got a pending app release. Guys, I don't like to give you dates. And I don't know the date. Honestly, it's been pushed back a little bit. So that being said, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, you'll look down at your phone and either if you've got it set to auto update, it'll auto update. If not, you'll need to manually update your consumer app. But that being said, this is what's going to be released. So let me pull it up real quick, and you can see there's going to be some improvements to the consumer app. And what? There we go. All right, so this is what's going to start showing up in your command contact record with someone that has registered on your site. You're going to start to see a lot more things happening within those timelines. So for example, right now, anytime someone searches and using the consumer app, you don't know about it as the agent. With the new update, you'll actually get to see what they're actually searching for. So when I searched earlier for a specific price point, 4+ bedrooms, 3+ bathrooms, single family home, you'll get to start seeing all of that criteria in their record. You're going to see when they've registered. I showed you earlier 2 different ways to view neighborhood information, right? Actually clicking on it or viewing it from within the actual neighborhood. I forgot to show you places. I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But you can see when they view a neighborhood. If they're viewing a neighborhood and favoriting properties in that neighborhood, it's probably good for you to go view that neighborhood too. so you can get information and have more familiarity with that neighborhood. You would hate to say, I have no idea, I don't know anything about that neighborhood. So go view that neighborhood on your consumer app. You can get an idea of what the average price point is, days on market, what's nearby, the schools, all that kind of stuff, just so you have kind of a working knowledge of a neighborhood that they might be interested in. You can see when the consumer creates a collection, edits a collection, and which listings are being added to those collections. If they just click on an actual listing without putting it into their collection, you'll know which properties they are viewing. And then if they're checking off guide builder steps or you're checking off guide builder steps, you'll be able to see that as well. So that's all happening here with the new release, which should be coming up in the next couple of weeks. In addition, you'll now have the ability to create a section called featured listings. This will show up on the consumer app and on your agent site. On the consumer app, it'll actually show up as a default collection. So it'll actually have featured listings in their collections, which by default, they'll see your 12 featured listings or up to your 12. On your agent site, underneath the search bar, there'll actually be a little carousel of properties. I think it's 3 or 4 that will show up, and then they can actually kind of carousel through them. You will decide which 12 listings you want featured, and you do have to keep up with it. Okay, so it is not automatic, and it does not take into effect of going under contract or being sold. So just kind of a heads up, if you're going to use that featured listing, make sure you're updating it, because I would hate for someone to come along a month or 2 from now, see your featured listings, and they're all either under contract, sold, or off market, right? That would not look good for you. So if you don't have featured listings, you don't want to do the featured listings, that's okay. Nothing will show up, right? So there's not a button, or it won't show up as an empty collection. There just won't be a featured listing collection on your consumers. Also on your agent site, if you choose not to have any featured listings, then the carousel just won't show up. It won't be empty. It just won't be there at all. So the consumer will know no difference. But if you have a lot of listings that you do want to feature, you have that ability to do that now on your consumer site and on the consumer app. Here's another cool thing that's happening once that release goes live, is the ability for the consumer to actually request a tour. So they can schedule a tour from the app. You can now see at the bottom, we saw that big Ask Agent button that was there on every listing. That's going to slide over and make room for a schedule tour button. They can click on that and they'll get a pop-up that says, okay, what days and what times are you available? So they can put into up to 3 different dates and then 3 different times per date. And then they can decide whether they want to tour it in person or they want to tour it through a live video session. And if they choose live video, you'll see they get 6 different options there that they can choose, whether that's Zoom, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Duo, Facebook Messenger, or something different. Once they request that, it's going to show up as an alert for your Kelly and also in command. It's going to look like this. So you can see it'll say contact requested a video tour. It'll give you the listing address that you can click on so you can get an idea of what the listing itself is. And then you can click on view request and you'll see then it's going to say, well, here's the property address. Here are the times and dates that they would like to see the property. And if it's a virtual tour then they'll tell you which platforms that they prefer. They would like to use Zoom or WhatsApp. Now, you're not doing that tour from within the consumer app, just so you know. You would have to go offline and then you're going to have to download Zoom on your phone or do it through Facebook Messenger or Facebook or whatever the 2 of you agree upon, the app platform that you want to use, you would do that separate from the consumer app. But it is a great way for us to differentiate ourselves, especially during this time of COVID, to say, hey, our consumers can actually quickly and easily request a virtual tour. Guys, that doesn't end when COVID calms down, right? You may still have clients that say, hey, I don't have the time to drive 30 minutes across time to look at this one property to come all the way back, but I would love for you to show it to me. That's going to be up to you as the agent to say, do I want to drive to this property and do this virtual tour for these people? But think about it also, sometimes they may be relocating, especially if it's like a military relo or something along those lines, and they're in DC, they're moving to McAllen or whatever, and they say, hey, we can't come in, like we're literally too busy. Can you help us tour through these 3 favorites of ours and we're going to make a decision, put in an offer, right? So that's another option that's coming, and that's not just going to be for the next couple of weeks. This will be on our app, as I understand, forever and forever, amen. So your consumers can request that option, both an in-person or then a virtual tour as well. So that's coming with the new app release. let's go back in real quick, and I want to share my phone one more time with you because I forgot to share the ability to create your places. So let's get back into that. All right. So when they're in the app, they can come down to the More button in the bottom right-hand corner. And this is the consumer. You as the consumer can do this as well. And you're going to click on the second button that says My Account. And then you'll see the third option down says Places. This is where they can add up to 3 different places that are important for them so that they will know the commute time from any listing that they're looking at to that specific place. So it might be a specific church. Let's just say, I'm going to delete out Lifetime Fitness. Nicole and I go to Grace Fellowship. So I could put in Grace Fellowship and do a search. It's then going to show Grace Fellowship Church on South Mason. That's our church. And I could have that as one of my places. I could say, let's delete that. And let's say I gotta be near a Torchy's Tacos. I don't know if you guys have those down there, but man, Torchy's is just ridiculous up here. They're super cheap and super good. So this one is on Katy Freeway. And then let's say I gotta be near a Target. So I could put in Target. It would pull up all the local Targets. I would find the one that I love shopping at, which is the one also on Katy Freeway, and there are my 3 places. Now, when I come back to search and find a listing that I'm interested in, I gotta clear out my filters because I have a filter that's not showing any homes. I could say maybe this 300 one right by Avenue D. I'm interested in that property, but I'd like to know as I scroll down in the listing, how far away is it from church? That's a 19-minute drive. How far away is it from Torchy's? A 15-minute drive. How far away is it from Target? It's a 16-minute drive. What if I like to bike to Torchy's? Because I'm going to put on a lot of calories there and I want to burn them off on the way home. I could also click on biking. It would show me it's going to be about a 47-minute bike ride. What if for some reason I have to walk to church? Because on Sundays, my husband takes the car, whatever it may be. My wife takes the car. I can click on walking and I can see, well, I might want to live a little bit closer to church because that's going to take me about 3 hours to walk to church. So these are all different things they can build out within the places. So again, that's under the More button on the bottom right, and then under My Account, and then Places, they can choose their 3 places that they want to know. So oftentimes I have had buyers that have said, we've got to be within walking distance of X. We want our kids to be able to walk to school. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but you could then put in the elementary school that they want their kids to go to, and then they could find out how long of a walk it might be for their kids to walk to school. So just one more feature that the KW Consumer app has that not all of those other apps out there that your consumers may be using have. So again, right, we want to get our consumers off of those other apps, get them onto our platform and our app. They can search by things like landmark, neighborhoods. They can do a draw search, a standard home search. They can search by standard map view and then the satellite map view, right? The overhead using Google Earth, which is a cool thing for them to see that they're not all going to have on their regular app. They have the ability to create custom collections. They have the ability to create custom searches. They can share the properties that they're looking at with anyone they want, including you. They can actually have a customized guide for the buying process and the selling process that you will walk them through and check off as you complete, right? So all of the different reasons why your consumers should be using your app versus any other app, guys, get them off those other ones. One of the biggest selling points for you is once you convert them and they're on your app, they're only going to know your name and phone number. They're never going to see anyone else's name or phone number while in your app. So they won't be tempted to call somebody else, right? So just kind of an additional selling point for you. Guys, that's really it for today. Like I said, that new release hopefully happening within the next couple of weeks. When the consumer receives the app, how do they know to register? Joyce, it depends. If they're following one of your links, then when they download it, it will already be registered to you, meaning that they won't have that choose an agent. It'll automatically have your branding because they followed your link. If they just go straight to the App Store, then if they want to get into the guide, if they want to create collections, if they want to see places, all that kind of stuff, it'll tell them in order to get access to this function, you must choose your Keller Williams agent. and then they'll have to go through and register that way. If I was sending this out to specific people in my sphere or my past clients or any of my kind of just my people, I would make sure that I clicked on that more button in the bottom right and I took a screenshot of this. And then when I sent out the link, I would send this picture shortly after and say, hey, just make sure that it looks like this when you click on that button in the bottom right. If it doesn't, let me know. And that way, if they say, hey, it doesn't actually look like that, I don't see your picture on my app, then they can actually, you can walk them through the registration process. So if I send the app, they do not have to set up an account for themselves to save searches. No, they're still gonna have to do an account, but when they put in that email and that password for their account, they're gonna get access to your branded app, right? So they still, anyone that has not actually created an account on the app previously will have to create an account. But when they do, they're gonna have an app that's already tied to you. So I kind of think about it like, I don't know, I use Advocare, right? Advocare is kind of a health and wellness product. Somebody sent me their Advocare link because you have to shop with somebody that's already in Advocare. And so when I registered, I was automatically tied to that person. So it's the same kind of thing, right? Go to a high-end department store and they're gonna say, did somebody help you? And they're gonna say, yep, it was Bob. And so then from this point on, I'm always gonna be tied to Bob as his client, if you will. Does it tell them to do that or should we advise them? It will tell them when they go to download it, they're gonna be asked to create an account. If they click on the X, there is an X button, right? That says, I don't wanna create an account, and they can start playing with it, but they're not gonna get access to all of the features. But it does prompt them to create an account as soon as they register. They're not forced to, they can still use the app without creating an account or choosing an agent. They're just not gonna have access to all of the features. So, you know, they can kind of be incognito, right? Be anonymous, but in order to get access to all the features, they will have to create an account. Guys, any other questions? You can throw them in chat, raise your hand if you'd like. All right, well, you always know you can reach out to me if you do have any other further questions or work through your amazing leadership team there and your tech drivers that you guys have down there in the Valley. I miss seeing you guys. That was one of my favorite drives, just so you know. I know most people are like, you like driving? I'm like, man, 5 hours in the car, good music, windows down, like as long as it wasn't a rainy day. But yeah, so I miss seeing you guys. I look forward to seeing you guys. Q3, I'll be back down there to shake hands, give hugs, get to know you guys even better. And I hope you are staying safe and healthy, taking good care of your family and one another. If you need anything from me in the future, let me know. I'll send this link to the YouTube video of this class to your leadership team so that you guys can get it. For those of you that weren't there, the leadership team can then send that out as well. So yes, Carl, I've got it is recording. So, but that's it. Hope you have a great day. Take care and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye, guys.